So let's get to it. Our favorite plays for this weekend in the NFL.
Pick six.
Chelsea, I like that we have a couple squad plays. Had a couple yesterday in baseball. Now we got some in football. So let's win some money as a team because that's you and me, baby. What do you got?
Yeah, let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals. We were just talking about this. At some point, the offense is going to return to form. And when at their best, they're one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. Have you forgotten about Jamar Chase? At some point, we're going to see him have a huge game. And in fact, most of the projections in fantasy have him with a huge game here going over 90 yards receiving. So I think against the Jets here, we've seen this number tick up to all the way Bengals -6. I'll follow the money here because at some point we're going to see a better game from the Bengals. This is probably a buy low spot for a team with a ton of offensive weapons against the Jets team that I'm not ready to trust, even at home. Let's follow the money here. Let's take the Bengals -6.
Oh, Chelsea, I am with you on this. At some point, don't the Bengals finally just have to step up and be that team? They're not this bad. And the Jets don't present the problems on the defensive line that other teams have presented to the Bengals in the first couple of games of the season. I'm with you. I'm going to follow the money here. The Bengals are the right side. And frankly, as much as I like Joe Flacco as a player, I love that he's still carving out a career. Had 4 touchdowns, no picks last week in that incredible comeback against the Browns. That said, he is a backup for a reason. This is not the peak of his career, and I expect him not to have good back-to-back weeks. I think the Bengals finally get an easy win. It's under that key number. So, Chelsea, I'm with you. Let's go Bengals -6 against the Jets.
Yeah, and then a little sprinkle for me on Garrett Wilson, anytime touchdown for the Jets. He's had the most red zone targets of any player in the NFL. So at +240, kind of like an anytime touchdown for him for the Jets. Kickoff for that one, it's set for 1 p.m. in the Meadowlands.
Pick six.
All right, let's head out west for the Rams and the Cardinals. The Rams favor 3.5 in this one on the road. But the thing is, the Cardinals have been much worse at home and even worse against the Rams. The Rams have been absolutely dominant on the road at Arizona, 7-0 against the number in their last 7 games against the Cardinals. And plus, think of the demons that Kyler Murray might have against LA. Remember that terrible playoff game in which was probably the worst game of his career that sent him into a tailspin on social media where he deleted all these pictures? Yeah, that was against the Rams. So I think they can get after him here. Maybe he runs for a few yards in this one because I do like his rushing prop play over 25.5 rushing yards in this one. But still, I think the Rams have a bounce back spot here if they can limit their turnovers. Matt Stafford has thrown some picks early on in the year. I think he's one of those veteran quarterbacks that comes on stronger as the year progresses. So let's go Rams here, -3.5.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about the spread in this game? And I know you're not betting it. I'm just curious as to your thoughts. But you're talking about a 3.5-point spread that you're laying with the Rams. And this line just doesn't make any sense to me. I want to lay it with the Rams, but when I see a line that just stinks like this, that makes no sense to me, and I see the money coming in on the Cards, I feel like that Arizona might be the play here. Can you make the case for the Rams?
Yeah, they've had the Cardinals number. That's what it is. Certain teams match up better against certain teams. And I feel like the Rams have had the Cardinals number. And like I said, the Cardinals are actually better on the road. I think if this one was in LA, I think I would like the Cardinals because they would be getting more points. But the thing is, the spread is where it is because you're still talking about a divisional matchup. You're still talking about a Cardinals team that actually had some life in the second half against the Raiders. And also, you automatically get some points for being at home. So I think the spread is right here, but I still think that the Rams have a big game, and I think they cover this number, even though it's at 3.5.
I'm going to stay away from this one, but I like the way you're approaching it. Again, Rams laying 3.5 in the Desert kickoff set for 4:25 on Sunday.
Pick six.
Looks
All
like
right,
we got
Jenks.
another squad play. Yeah, let's do it.
Squad play. I feel like we need one of those like Power Rangers things to like put our hands on and do like a 1990s like team huddle break before we do this
Yeah.
play. Because Jenks, we are both on the Niners train. We're taking the Niners -1.5 against the Broncos. This one is in the Mile High City, which normally I think this was the sabotage factor that I thought might be playing a role here. Usually one of the tougher places to play in all of football, but how can you trust this Broncos team right now? Look at the Niners. They got the better coach, the better defense, the better rush attack, better ingredients, better pizza. You've seen that TikTok. It goes on. And so I'm taking the Niners here. I trust Kyle Shanahan way more than I trust Nathaniel Hackett, who is completely, peed down his leg in several situations. Russell Wilson has not looked himself. And what defense would be better at limiting Russell Wilson than the defense that went to Lambeau last season and made Aaron Rodgers, the reigning MVP, look like absolute garbage. So I think when you're facing good quarterbacks, you need a defense who can get some pressure on the quarterback. The Niners do an excellent job of that. And plus, speaking of quarterbacks, I trust Jimmy G way more than I trust Trey Lance. So I'll take the Niners on the road here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just can't make a case for the Broncos here. I love the Niners. And so I'll lay the 1.5. If you want to play Niners on the money line, that's fine. It's just -120. This is the best defense in the National Football League. It is Niners number 1 and Bills number 2. And like we were talking about earlier, you can always say, well, yeah, man, it's just 2 weeks into the season. But remember, the Niners also had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year. Their calling card is that defense. So this isn't some sort of fluke. And Jimmy G, at least in the short term, is better for the 49ers. San Francisco was banking on Trey Lance getting better, taking his lumps throughout the season, and instead they have an automatic upgrade. And Chelsea, we saw that at BetMGM because as soon as it was announced that Trey Lance was out for the season and Jimmy G would be that guy, well, guess what? The odds for the Niners to win the Super Bowl shortened from 20-1 to 18-1 at BetMGM. Jimmy G took the Niners to the NFC Championship game last year. He is an above-average quarterback. The Broncos may be without Jerry Jeudy this weekend. I know Russell Wilson wants to ride with the Broncos, but I'm with you. Let's go Niners.
Plus, at some point, we've got to stop thinking that Russell Wilson can be the Band-Aid for these teams that all around have other problems than just at the quarterback position. Because we saw this with the Seahawks. So many years they said, oh, well, they have Russell Wilson at quarterback. They can get the ball down the field. He can't be a Band-Aid in the NFL. The level of competition is just too good to overcome some of the errors that we've seen from the Broncos, most namely the head coaching mismatch here. Kyle Shanahan knows how to use the pieces in his offense to make the best play calls and make the most of what he has on the field. Can't say that about Nathaniel Hackett. In fact, he does the exact opposite. So really like the Niners here, and it scares me how much I like them.
I agree, and that's a really great point about Nathaniel Hackett, because remember early in the season when he was one of the favorites based on the roster and based on his position as head coach of the Broncos, and then immediately after he made a couple boneheaded calls in the first couple weeks of the season, his odds fell back to like 80-1 to win NFL Coach of the Year, so I do think that's a factor as well. It is the Sunday Night Football Extravaganza kickoff set for 8:20 in the Mile High City.
Pick six. Pick six.
Somebody has to bet on this garbage game, and I'm just the guy to do it. Falcons at the Seahawks. Am I going to watch this game? No. Do I think it's an interesting game? No. Do I think it's worth betting on? Yeah, maybe. Falcons getting 1.5 points against the Seahawks, and I just happen to think Atlanta is a better football team. It's hard to gauge because clearly these two teams suck. Let's just be honest. However, the Falcons played the Saints really tough in week 1, probably should have won that game, came down to a field goal. They were tough against the Rams, gave LA a little bit of a scare. Outside of Seattle in the first half of that game against the Broncos, their offense has been absolute trash. They haven't been able to do anything. I think the Falcons are a better ball club, and I do think, believe it or not, that Marcus Mariota can take advantage of a weak Seattle secondary because Drake London, we've seen his Rookie of the Year odds short because he's been very good for the Falcons. Give me the Falcons plus 1.5 points against Seattle. I think they probably went outright.
Ooh, yeah. Taking the worst game on the slate and putting it as one of your best plays of the weekend. I respect it, Jenks. Something else interesting about that game, if you like Marcus Mariota, anytime touchdown, we were talking about player red zone rushing attempts and targets and all of that. Guess who is tied for the 8th most rushing red zone attempts? That would be Marcus Mariota. So keep your eye on Marcus Mariota to scramble in the end zone, maybe if it is a quarterback sneak situation. As somebody who is a Titans fan and watched Marcus Mariota be absolutely mediocre for the Titans, he's a great person, and I will always root for him. So I am personally rooting for another big game from Marcus Mariota.